carrying with him the many parasites that still remain. Yet, the savanna is far from finished helping him. Their interrupted work begins again with renewed determination. The buffalo doesn't need to move, he only waits patiently. They circle the buffalo's submerged legs, keeping just enough distance to dart away if danger appears.
To them, the massive bull is unlike anything else in the lake.
His towering body casts a broad shadow across the shallow water, yet he shows no sign of movement. The buffalo doesn't react, he simply stands there, allowing the cool water to surround his body.
Within seconds, the cautious circle begins to tighten.
More fish arrive from different directions, each drawn by the same irresistible discovery. Clinging to the buffalo's lower body are countless bloated ticks, firmly anchored deep within the folds of his thick skin.
For the fish, they are food.
Without hesitation, the small aquatic cleaners begin their work.
One after another, they pick at the parasites attached to his submerged legs.
Their tiny mouths move with remarkable precision, reaching into wrinkles and narrow creases that the buffalo could never reach himself. The bull remains perfectly still.
Every sudden movement could scatter the fish, interrupting the only relief he has found all day. Instead, he seems to trust the tiny cleaners, surrendering the entire lower half of his body to their patient work. As more fish gather, the cleaning becomes almost continuous. What began as a handful of curious visitors quickly grows into a busy school, surrounding the buffalo from every side.
Beneath the calm surface, hundreds of tiny mouths work at the same time.
Carefully removing the parasites hidden around his legs, ankles, and heavy hooves.
The lake appears peaceful above the surface, almost nothing seems to be happening. But below the water, an extraordinary partnership is unfolding with quiet efficiency.
For the buffalo, every parasite removed means a little less discomfort. For the fish, every parasite is another meal. It's a perfect exchange, one that benefits both, without either one forcing it to happen.
But the calm won't last for long.
Far across the lake, something much larger is already making its way toward the shallow. For several peaceful minutes, the partnership continues without interruption. The buffalo stands motionless in the shallows, while the school of fish works tirelessly beneath the surface. Tiny mouths search every wrinkle around his submerged legs, carefully removing the swollen ticks hidden deep inside his thick hide. The clear water allows the fish to move with remarkable accuracy. Every movement is deliberate. Every successful bite brings another parasite to an end. The buffalo seems almost transformed. The constant irritation that had driven him into the lake is slowly beginning to fade. Then, something changes. At first, it's barely noticeable. A series of slow, rhythmic vibrations travels through the water. The fish react immediately. Some hesitate, others briefly stop feeding, as if sensing something approaching long before it can be seen.
The buffalo lifts his head.
Some hesitate, others briefly stop feeding, as if sensing something approaching long before it can be seen.
The buffalo lifts his head. Moments later, the source of the disturbance appears. A breeding herd of African elephants walks steadily toward the lake.
Their enormous feet enter the shallows one after another, sending powerful waves across the once calm surface. Massive trunks plunge into the water as the elephants drink and stir the muddy bottom.
Within seconds, the lake begins to change. Dark clouds of silt billow upward from the bottom, spreading rapidly through the water. What had been clear only moments before quickly turns into a thick brown haze.
Visibility disappears. The fish can no longer see the buffalo's legs.
Unable to continue searching through the murky water, the small cleaners abandon their work.
One by one, then all at once, they dart away from the giant buffalo and disappear into the deeper vegetation,
where the water offers more protection.
The underwater cleaning station falls silent. The buffalo remains where he is for a moment, waiting, as if hoping the fish might return. But they don't. The relief he had finally begun to enjoy has ended as suddenly as it began.
Slowly, the old bull turns away from the crowded shallows and starts making his way back toward the shore,
carrying with him the many parasites that still remain. Yet, the savanna is far from finished helping him. Another group of tiny cleaners is already watching from the trees above.
The old buffalo climbs slowly onto the grassy shoreline. Water drips steadily from his heavy coat as he pauses for a moment, looking back toward the lake. Behind him, the elephants continue stirring the shallows, leaving the water too cloudy for the fish to return. His brief relief has come to an end, but only for a moment.
High above the shoreline, several red-billed oxpeckers have been watching from the branches of a nearby acacia tree. The instant the buffalo leaves the water, they seize their opportunity. One bird swoops down first. It lands confidently between the buffalo's broad shoulders, gripping his coarse hide with its sharp claws. A second bird follows almost immediately, then another. Within seconds, a small flock is scattered across the massive bull's back. Unlike the fish, the oxpeckers aren't interested in the buffalo's submerged legs. Their attention is focused entirely on the places the lake could never reach. One bird carefully works its way toward the buffalo's thick neck, parting the coarse hair with its slender beak. Another hops toward the base of a horn, where swollen ticks remain tightly attached. Others inspect the folds of skin around the ears and along the spine, searching patiently for every remaining parasite. The buffalo lowers his heavy head without resistance. The birds pull, peck, and probe through his wet coat. But across the open plain, another wave of movement is rapidly approaching the lake, one powerful enough to disrupt everything once again. Wildebeests, zebras, driven by thirst, they surge toward the water without slowing down. The stampede sweeps past the buffalo before crashing into the shallow lake, sending muddy water in every direction. The heat becomes relentless. The buffalo stands silently beneath the blazing light, while the last of the oxpeckers decide to leave. One after another, they spread their wings and fly back toward the shade of the nearby acacia trees, escaping the intense midday sun.
Once again, the old bull is alone.
Many parasites are gone, many still remain. Without the fish below or the birds above, he can no longer rely on nature's tiny cleaners. If he wants relief now, he'll have to find another way. Slowly, he turns away from the noisy lakeshore and walks toward a large acacia tree, where a rough trunk offers the next chance to ease his stubborn irritation. Leaving the crowded lakeshore behind, the old buffalo makes his way across the open grassland. The fish can no longer reach him. The oxpeckers have disappeared into the shade. For the first time since entering the lake, he is completely on his own again. The irritation hasn't vanished. Enough parasites remain to keep his thick skin constantly uncomfortable. Singfest. A large acacia tree stands alone on the plain. Without hesitation, the buffalo presses the full weight of his slowly at first, then with increasing force, the deeply textured bark scrapes across the thick muscles of his neck and shoulders. Loose hair catches on the wood, while crushed parasites and dried mud are left behind on the tree. Still searching for relief, the buffalo moves on. Not far away, a smooth granite boulder rises from the grassland. This time, he lowers the front of his body,
pressing his heavy chest against the cool stone.
Using his powerful legs for leverage, he slowly slides forward, allowing the rough surface to scrape across his lower chest and stomach. Layer after layer of dried mud begins to break away. Some of the remaining parasites are rubbed loose along with it. The effort is slow, demanding, but the buffalo continues without hesitation, using every surface available. Then, the air begins to change. A cool gust of wind sweeps across the savanna, bending the tall grass in a single direction.
The buffalo pauses.
In the distance, dark storm clouds gather rapidly across the horizon, swallowing the afternoon sky.
Only moments later, the first heavy drops begin to fall.
The storm arrives without warning. Within seconds, the first heavy drops become a relentless downpour,
drumming against the buffalo's broad back and soaking the dry savanna.
Water rushes through the tall grass, carrying loose dirt down the gentle slopes and into the lake below. The buffalo doesn't move. He simply stands beneath the rain, letting nature do its work.
The water streams over his massive body, washing away the loose mud left from rubbing against the tree and granite boulder.
Brush, ticks, dead skin, and clumps of dirt are carried away with the flowing water.
By the time the rain finally begins to ease, the entire landscape has changed. The air.
Nearly an hour passes before the last of the storm clouds drift away. Slowly, the buffalo turns back toward the lake, guided by instinct and by the lingering irritation that still remains. He walks steadily into the familiar shallows.
He doesn't need to move. He doesn't need to fight. He only waits patiently as the tiny cleaners finish the task.
Minute by minute, the water becomes clearer. Hidden among the aquatic plants, the small fish begin to notice him once again.
Recognizing the familiar opportunity, they gather around the buffalo's submerged legs, exactly as they had earlier that day. Their interrupted work begins again with renewed determination. The buffalo doesn't need to move. He only waits patiently. He doesn't need to move. He doesn't need to fight. He only waits patiently as the tiny cleaners finish the task.
And when the old bull finally steps out of the lake, high in the nearby trees, the red-billed oxpeckers have been waiting. The moment the buffalo steps onto dry ground, they recognize another opportunity. One bird glides down first, then another. The fish have already cleaned every part of the buffalo's submerged body, and now the oxpeckers focus on the places the lake could never reach. Moving carefully across his shoulders, neck, ears, and along his spine, they perform one final inspection. The buffalo remains completely relaxed. He lowers his head and stands quietly, searching patiently for any stubborn ticks that escaped both the earlier cleaning and the heavy rain. Each remaining parasite they remove brings the long day closer to its conclusion. The fish cared for everything beneath the water. The oxpeckers finished everything above it. Together, they created a natural cleaning system. As the golden afternoon light slowly fades toward evening, the last oxpecker lifts from the buffalo's back. The old bull turns toward the open savanna, ready to leave the lake behind and continue his journey. The old buffalo walks away from the lake with an unhurried, confident stride. The long day has finally come to an end. Hours earlier, he entered the water burdened by countless parasites, searching for relief that brute strength alone could never provide. The fish were forced away. The oxpeckers paused their work. Even the buffalo relied on rough bark and solid stone. Together, they formed a natural sequence of care that allowed the old bull to continue on with far less discomfort. As the buffalo disappears into the distant grassland, the lake slowly grows still again. The oxpeckers return to the branches of the nearby acacia trees. The sounds of the busy shoreline gradually fade. The muddy water settles. Before long, there is almost no sign that this remarkable partnership ever took place. On the African savanna, survival isn't always won by the strongest. Sometimes it depends on the smallest lives working together, one quiet moment at a time.